the Baltimore Bridge, Kate Middleton, and what's going on with Diddy. Follow me down the rabbit hole about current events. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the rabbit hole. I am your host, Danny, and today we're doing current events. So we are kind of breaking up the fake death series to do these current events because you guys have been asking for it. Here I am to give it to you. But we're doing it a little different today because today I have a special guest on the show. Maverick Bailey, a former child actor from Los Angeles, has transitioned into a multifaceted entrepreneur. As the host of Maverick Approach, he passionately educates and empowers individuals to discover the truth, make informed investment decisions, and explore alternative health products for improved well-being. Additionally, Bailey serves as CEO of Jet Set Token and Scale Bar, leveraging his diverse expertise to drive innovation and positive impact. Hi, Maverick. Thanks for coming to the rabbit hole. Let's talk about what's going on, right? So can you start to explain to me a little bit about the Baltimore Bridge and all the crazy things that's going on? Because everything I find, everything contradicts each other.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah, I think this whole Baltimore Bridge thing it goes so deep, right? So if you go into
Right.
just the facts and what happened, it's very suspicious, right? So I did a video and I broke down pretty much everything that happened. So 2 minutes before it actually crashed into the bridge, the power went out and it went into a different course, right? So like the black box 2 minutes before, the black box, has no audio, nothing. So nobody knows what happens. So the thing is that this thing lost power twice and then takes a sharp turn and then hits into the bridge, which is very abnormal. So I did some research and you can't really those ships have backup power, right?
Yeah.
And they have two different power sources.
Mm-hmm.
So for it to like black out twice and then run into it, it's almost like it's done intentional, allegedly.
Yes.
So I think that there's a lot of moving pieces behind it. One of the captains was from Ukraine, so people were saying like it was like a sleeper cell situation. All these different things. People were saying that the points where it broke, it had like it looked like sparks,
Right.
but
Yeah.
some people were saying it was explosion. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Because it doesn't look like, to
Yeah, so
me,
it's really weird.
oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like, to me, when it breaks like that, you think that the power, like almost like a circuit breaker, the power would stop. So why did it keep sparking all the way down the bridge?
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. So like, and then some engineers were saying like, hey, the power's under the bridge, not on top. So all these different things. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a professional. I don't build bridges,
Right.
but it did look like that. It could have been a power source or a cable or something snapping. But the way it just broke in those three parts, it
Mm-hmm.
looked really weird. I mean, I guess like the bridge is old and it does have like some weak points because they were doing maintenance on them and they were doing, which was another weird thing too, right? So they were
Right.
saying that this whole thing, the bridge was open for maintenance. So like cars were coming through in and out
Right.
as maintenance was happening. So I feel like that was a hazard. And, then it could be a cover up to where, what were those contractors doing, on the bridge?
But I read somewhere that they were only doing like pothole maintenance. They weren't doing like bridge maintenance. It was just potholes. So like, were they doing real maintenance? Were they doing pothole maintenance? Like, what kind of maintenance were they actually doing?
Right. And that's another question. So it's like, were they actually doing, pothole maintenance and was it something else going on? Like they could have been setting off charges. Who knows? Like
Who
we don't
knows?
really know. It's a lot of moving pieces that's a little suspicious. And another thing too that which is really eerie and we might get into it. So this whole thing with Francis Scott Key. So the
Mm-hmm.
bridge is named after Francis Scott Key. He is the one that is the creator of the Star Spangled Banner,
Yes.
right? So that's one thing. We'll put a pin in that. Two happened in Baltimore, right?
Yep.
So the mayor, I believe his name is Brendan Scott. Funny enough, his birthday is on April 8th, which is the day of the eclipse.
Hmm.
So I thought that was really funny, right?
Right.
So going back to the bridge itself, there's a lot of symbolism, right? So if you believe in symbolism and kind of how the elites use symbolism, what they do is they link all these different events to each other.
Yeah.
So with the bridge, I for one take that as a symbol of America's falling. There's a downfall. There's um, a lot of things happening in America right now that is like pointing to our demise.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, that bridge representing um, the Star Spangled Banner and whatnot, America's uh, I guess one of monuments you can say, quote unquote, or unofficially.
Yeah.
And then there was a commercial, the NCAA men's basketball finals. That happens on April 8th.
Okay.
And there's a commercial with Sam Jackson and Charles Barkley,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a huge key, and it's a really weird commercial, right? It has nothing to do with basketball.
Yeah.
He has a huge key, and he's like, "Oh, I have a key to the city." So I was like, that's really weird. And they go in, and like this key opens up to a big door, and then they cut out the lights, and it's like so random.
That's very
So they
odd.
cut out the lights. I'm like, blackout, and everybody's worrying about this eclipse being a blackout, and I was like, key. You know what else happened? Francis Scott Key Bridge fell, and then the Baltimore mayor, he has a ton of press from the
Of
bridge.
course. Yeah.
His birthday is on April 8th. So all these things kind of like interlink,
Well,
and it's kind of weird.
we can take this even one step further, and we have the creepy movie that was put out at the beginning of the year, Leave the World Behind, and it was like, all the power was cut and then or went out, and you have this cargo ship that runs onto the shore. So you have like the basketball commercial where their power is going out. You have this ship that like the power went out and then ran into a bridge, and it's a cargo ship. You have all these pieces that, like, if you start connecting them, it starts getting really eerie.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a coincidence," but how many times can we say something is a coincidence until it's not?
I don't believe in
Right? So
coincidences
like,
anymore.
I always use this analogy. Yeah, I always use this analogy. It's like, hey, you run into a friend at the mall. Oh, hey, what a coincidence. All right, cool. But then like 45 minutes later, you see him at the gas station across town. Oh, okay, wow, that's really weird. Here you are again. Then a third time you see him, they're at your local market somewhere. It's like, okay, are you following me? Like, what is
Yeah.
happening? That's not a coincidence. Like for three times, like
Well, and everybody
it's
would
very
question that.
highly unlikely. Yeah,
Like
wouldn't they? That's what I would think.
you would not be like, "Oh, yeah, it's just odd that we happen to be in these three places at the exact same time." Like, you would start to be like, that's really weird that we just keep running into each other."
Yeah, you kind of get spooked out, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because
and I
mm,
and I feel like this whole thing, like with this bridge, and all these other major events, how they all link.
mhm.
So how you brought up Leave the World Behind, right? And that ship crashing it was a cargo ship
Yeah.
crashing into the beach, right?
Yep.
Okay, so get this. What was the name of that ship in
Oh,
the movie?
I don't remember.
Do you remember? Okay, White Lion. It had a huge thing on the side that said White Lion, right?
Oh.
White Lion. The ship, the ship that crashed into the bridge was from Singapore. Okay?
Mhm.
If you look up the national mascot of Singapore, it's a white lion.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
That
Like,
can't be. You're like, come on.
there's too many coincidences. It's too much. Like,
Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. Like, okay. So this movie is so spot on. It's almost like it's like a documentary or predictive programming, So like when it comes to that, it's like okay, you start researching and seeing all these different things and all these different things link. It's like wait a minute, that's weird. And like in that movie as well, they had the Teslas,
Yep.
crashing into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that movie came out, huge recall with like 2 million Teslas,
Yep. Because they can't drive themselves. Mm-hmm.
and it's yeah, they can't drive themselves and all this other things. It's like, what is this movie really trying to tell us? Is this like a roadmap, right?
Well, and I have
Excuse
this
me. Is it
theory. So I have this theory about movies and basically like conspiracy theories typically like say something really outlandish and you're like that sounds like a sci-fi movie. I saw this in this movie that one time, right? Well, what if these movies are coming out to deprogram you or to change your mindset to when you hear the theory or you hear like you start putting the pieces together, you're like this is so crazy that it belongs in a movie, like the Malaysia flight and the NBC movie or show Manifest, where like the plane disappeared and then came back, and like the Malaysia flight like just disappeared and nobody knows where it's at. It's like that's so crazy that it's sci-fi, but they're putting out these movies and these shows and these different things to like make us basically gaslight us into thinking that we're not actually like we're not original in coming up with these theories, we're just taking this movie plot or whatever.
right? Yeah, it's kind of like life imitating art or art imitating life type of scenario.
Absolutely.
But bringing that up, I think that um, no, a lot of people don't know that the Pentagon has a film fund, so the government is directly
Oh.
involved with Hollywood.
And
So
the
with TV and
propaganda.
film, they actually influence. Yeah, it's propaganda, and they know they can utilize these things as weapons to put things out or to hide things or whatever one a narrative they want to push.
Absolutely. Because they have to keep pushing narratives because they don't want us to know the truth.
Did you know that over 40% of Americans have a hard time swallowing pills? So when it's time to take your vitamins, large capsules and pills are out of the question. We know that gummy vitamins exist, but they're full of sugar, they get stuck in your teeth, and they only contain a fraction of the nutrients you need. Luckily, Easy Melts has discovered the ultimate vitamin sweet spot. Vitamins that melt in your mouth, taste like a treat, and are packed with nutrients ready for absorption, all without an ounce of sugar. For a limited time, Easy Melts is giving listeners a free 3-month supply of vitamin D3 with their first purchase. To claim your free D3 vitamins, visit try.easymelts.com/spring24. That's try.melts.com/spring24. Say goodbye to the old way of taking your vitamins and say hello to the easy way. Menopausal and perimenopausal women, listen up. It's time to take control of your health and comfort, and Winona is here to help. Winona is a telemedicine company for menopause care who believes that your symptoms are real, important, and deserve to be taken seriously. And for many women, this starts with hormone replacement therapy. Winona's HRT is made with plant-based, bioidentical hormones rather than synthetic ones, so it better aligns with your body to offer relief from hot flashes, weight gain, and other uncomfortable symptoms. 80% of women who use Winona find relief within just 90 days. So, what are you waiting for? Get started today. Visit buywinona.com today to start your free visit. With free shipping and the ability to pause or cancel at any time, your path to wellness has zero obligations. Use code SPRING24 at buywinona.com for 25% off your first treatment plan. That's BYWINONA.com for 25% off. Winona. Menopause care made easy.
Yeah, and I feel like it's even kind of like a collective con type of thing too, to where like if something isn't actually happening and we all kind of believe it, then we kind of all make it happen.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. It's like the Mandela effect a little bit, but not really.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about let's switch gears here for a second. Let's talk about Kate Middleton. So I did a or two episodes about clones and about how like different people could be clones. Joe Biden being one of those people. So we saw Kate on Christmas Day, and then she was just gone. and everybody wanted to know where she is. Now, all of a sudden, she has come out, and we have found, like, she, there's been some photos, but they've been found to be fake. And now all of a sudden she comes out and she's got cancer.
Yeah, it's weird, right? So like with that whole picture thing, that was such a rush job, and I don't know what they were trying to actually do, right? So
Hmm.
I feel like they were just either pressed for time and they were trying to put something out saying, "Hey, she's okay. Don't worry." And maybe something was going to come out. That's what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Something was going to come out. Somebody else was going to say something like, "Oh, she had cancer," or they wanted to beat the press itself. But that would be too easy. I feel like it's something else, and it's a little bit more nefarious. I feel like they're really trying to hide something that's really going on because it's too weird at this point. You put out a bad picture and it's all AI'd up and
Right.
edited, and her half her hair is blurred out, and some of the stuff she was wearing they just changed the colors, and her face was from like a magazine like she did like years ago, and they just superimposed it on there. It was weird. It was just like, why? And then that whole video, like, did you see the video? Obviously you saw the video, right?
Yeah.
Like, what'd you
Hmm.
think of that?
I don't know. Like, because of how good AI is getting, I don't feel like I believe it. It's like weird because she did
Right.
like the Mother's Day
The,
thing and then like the I have cancer thing, and it's just like a lot of nothing's really making you feel like it's actually Kate Middleton.
yeah. And then when with the video, I saw a deep dive on it to where there's so like her ring disappears
Yeah.
on her hand and it comes back, and then nobody else is in the video. It's
Yep.
just her. Where's her family? Where's her husband? Kids? Like, wouldn't they be consoling her during this time of need and like showing strength with her family? And that's the thing. So when you're using AI, it's really good at one subject, but multiple subjects, that's where it gets a little, messy.
Yeah.
So I think that that's another reason why they did it.
I can see that.
And then that sweater she wore it like I believe it was like 3 4 years ago or
Mhm.
something, or even longer, like the same exact outfit. So are they just taking old footage and pictures and kind of
Putting it all
creating this
together.
this avatar? Like, what is happening?
Well, and
Yeah.
you would think
So
that
I that's it's weird.
yeah, and you would think that her family would be there to console her. She would be with her kids and like, to like show this like united front, but that's not the case. And I don't know. So there's a couple theories I have floating around, right? So we have this clone theory that they're cloning her, that basically like William beat her to death and then they're like putting out a clone. And then they have the theory that maybe she does really have cancer. Maybe this is all really true, but why does she have cancer at such a young age when she had no like reason to have cancer? So like, is it because she got the COVID vaccine? And I know there's so many theories about the COVID vaccine, right? There's so many different like levels to what is going on with Kate Middleton. Why are they, if these are fake videos, because I'm not going to say they are, but I also don't want to say that they're not. If they are fake, then why are they putting out these fake videos? Why are they trying to trick us into believing that, like, if she has cancer, like everyone, like not everyone, people get cancer. Like, we are very sympathetic to that cause. So why don't we like rally around her? Not just as a country, but as like the world. Here in America, we're invested in her.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think that with two major PR slips at this point, and then like her walking around, and people were saying that wasn't her, it was like a double, and it was very like mysterious, and she just hops in the car, and it looks bad,
It looks really
right? So
bad.
like it's not a great press run at this point. So something's up. That's
And
what
they're
I
not
think. I
doing
think
the same
something's
thing
up.
with the king.
Hopefully, she's okay. You said what?
They're not doing the same thing with the king. Like, the king has cancer too, right? So why aren't they doing all these weird,
Hmm.
mysterious things with him?
Uh, well, my theory is that he like if say he is say he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say he's alive. I don't think that people. I don't think it would help seeing him because he's much older
Right.
and his health can be like really deteriorating. It wouldn't help. But on the other hand, if he's not here, then I think it's a little easier to hide him.
Right.
He's still a public figure, and I think that he can kind of get away with it as well. But I, I think that my personal theory that he's already gone. That's what I think.
I could see it. But I just
Yeah,
don't
and
understand,
I don't think that like that's
like why are you holding on to it then? Like people get cancer and die. Things happen. I think we can all understand that like we're not going to live forever. We're going to die. So if he dies, like why not just pass it on to William unless something weird is going on with Kate, because that would be like a really big spectacle.
exactly. They could be linked.
Yep. So, I don't know, something weird is going on. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Definitely odd.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's a great theory though. They are linked.
But let's talk about Diddy because so I don't know much about what's going on with Diddy. I've had a couple people ask me. I don't know a whole lot. So can you just go over everything?
Yeah. So it's a lot to unpack. With Diddy, so if you haven't heard, you've been living under a rock.
I'm living under a rock.
He
Sorry.
is getting hit. He's getting hit with a ton of assault charges and misconduct charges. There's a lot going on. So with Diddy, he had a producer called Little Rod,
Mhm.
and he produced one of his last albums, or his last album. I don't know if he produced previous albums, but I know the last one he just put out, he worked on that one.
Okay.
He alleges that he sexually assaulted him, he drugged him, he was groomed, and he witnessed all kind of horrendous things, violent crimes and acts, and you name it. He's naming all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't look good only because, for one, he's not the first person to come forward. Uh, we all know Cassie, his ex, of 10 years plus.
Yep.
She came out, she got paid right away as soon as she sued him. And for I don't know how much, I think it was an undisclosed amount. I think she was asking for 30 million,
Wow.
but it was somewhere in that ballpark. He paid the next day. But she was very smart, and I don't know who her lawyers are, but he didn't actually pay. She sued him and his companies, and his companies have shareholders. So they have shareholders and board members. So board members, they have to step in at this point and supersede all that and pay her out of the insurance.
That makes
So
sense.
when companies get sued for different lawsuits and whatnot, yeah, so that's kind of what happened. So he didn't directly pay. It came out of the company because they didn't want to deal with it. They have insurance. They want it to go away. So that's what happened with Cassie. This guy, I guess he's suing, him, his record label, everybody involved. He's implicating other people, other record label execs. There's drug mules involved. He had a drug mule who got caught at the Miami airport.
Oh my god.
All this crazy stuff. So I did a whole breakdown on his whole network, and it doesn't look good. It's like Epstein level, right?
Yep.
So allegedly, but first, Diddy has a drug mule. He was a former player at Syracuse, and he just after he stopped playing basketball, he got involved with Diddy,
Mhm.
and he was allegedly running drugs for him. So that's one guy. The other person is, if you look into a person named Robin Greenhill.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
Robin
her.
Greenhill has, yeah. So if you don't know about her, she runs TriStar Entertainment and Sports, and she is actually one of the key people that created Britney Spears' conservatorship. So she conspired with Britney Spears' dad and created that conservatorship. And TriStar got $18 million for creating that conservatorship,
Of course they did.
which is insane. Insane, right? So
Yeah.
she's the one that was working with Diddy and handling his financial affairs. So she was allegedly sending money for sex workers and drugs and all this other stuff, paying off people. She was handling the finances.
Hmm.
So that's person two.
Yep.
Person three is a very mysterious person by the name of Rachel Chandler. Now, this person has been around for like over 2 decades. She met Diddy when she was like 14. She was hanging out with Eminem. There's a picture of her and Eminem when she was like 17. She was hanging out with Bill Clinton. So she's had like, a crazy circle of, celebrities and high
Don't
powered
love that.
individuals. So she's actually the owner of an agency called Midland Agency. Now, if you don't know anything about agencies and casting, they have, a large Rolodex and a plethora of young men and women. So that's the perfect, scenario to where, you have the drugs handled, the finances handled, and start to groom, these young individuals to come in and do these video shoots and hang out at these parties. So you got a whole little network. And with Rachel, it's really odd because she kind of parallels another individual of Epstein's, network. Epstein had a person in his network. I forgot his name. I believe it's Jean Luc, and he was
Yeah.
from
Mm-hmm.
Paris,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
he had an agency as well. And he actually went to jail for sexual assault and all this other
He had a
stuff.
modeling agency, I
So
think,
it's kind
right?
of like funny, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So it kind of mirrors everything. And then they said when they raided Diddy's house, he had cameras in every room. He had videos and pictures of athletes and celebrities and high net worth individuals that are doing all these illegal activities. So I'm like, that sounds very Epsteinish.
Very. Yeah. I, mm. This
So
everything
it's
that's
it's crazy.
happening.
I guess we'll see. Right.
I just don't like. I don't like that this keeps happening. That people keep coming out about this. So, this episode we're recording, it's gonna drop in 2 weeks. So, when does your episode that you're dropping about, um, with the kid from Nickelodeon, when does that come out?
Yes. So I'm actually doing a never before seen or heard exclusive interview. This individual was on a famous Nickelodeon TV show. And this person was one of the main stars on the show. And that episode is going to be coming out in 2 weeks as well. So
Okay.
we're actually recording very soon, and the episode will be out in a couple of weeks. And it's coming off right off the back of Quiet on Set, the Nickelodeon documentary, and they actually have an episode dropping, I believe, this weekend, a bonus episode. So, and it's going to be coming right after that. And this person has never spoken before, never said anything, moved away, got out of the industry, and this was like a friend of a friend, and they connected me with this individual, and they were like, "Hey, we want to talk to you. We saw your page, and this will be a great platform to do so because it's a safe space now. Everybody's coming out." And I think that's what happens, right? So like when all
Absolutely.
these people start to come out about these different things, then they start to feel comfortable, like, okay, well maybe I can tell my story. And then, that's how it kind of happened. So yeah, so look out for that. That's going to be on my YouTube.
I was gonna say. So, what is your YouTube channel? So that way, my listeners can go and find your YouTube channel. We can watch that. We can watch your other things as well.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Maverick Approach. Just type that in, Instagram/Maverick Approach. And my YouTube is Maverick McFly. So MCFOY. So
Okay.
Maverick McFly is my YouTube. That's where I'm at dropping the episode.
Where else can they find you? I know I follow you on Instagram. Do you have a TikTok?
Yeah, I have a TikTok. It's the Maverick Approach on TikTok, and I also have an X account, and it's Mav Podcast or Mav Approach on X.
And then I love your survival guide on your website, all the things that you do. So can you kind of go over all the things that you're doing outside of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and social media? Can we talk about all those things? Because I think that's really important, and my followers or my listeners would love to hear about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I have on MaverickApproach.com a survival tab. So if you click the survival tab, I also have a wellness company because I'm very into health and wellness. But if you click the survival tab, I have a list of things. So I have a survival guide. It's a digital book that gets you prepared. And I feel like all these weird things that's happening, you kind of have to have some type of roadmap because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people ask me all the time, like all these things, like what do we do and how do we go about this and where do I put my money and like what is happening because they're so confused.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a book so people can have a starting point to where they can have some kind of guideline or some type of roadmap to figure out what to do. And you start having ideas on. And I think that growing your own food and having your own power, having the tools and kits that you need to survive if anything does happen, I mean, why not?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think it's best to have it and not ever use it and then not have it and then you need it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have things on there like solar powered fans and manual food grinders and backpacks and everything that you would need, if and when something did happen.
That's fantastic because everybody needs it, right? Like, you should always be prepared for something. And I know when I put out my solar eclipse episode, I explained, like definitely be prepared for there are a lot of towns that were preparing for 2 weeks worth of things, but you should always have a 72-hour go bag like ready to go because anything could happen at any point. You just never know. So that's fantastic. I'm going to share his website, all of his social medias, everything in the show notes. So if you guys like are looking for it, that's a great place. I'm following him on Instagram. So if you go through my Instagram page, like that's an easy way to follow. But also like you pop up, you're the first person pop up when you type in Maverick Approach. So that makes it really easy. But I thank you so much for coming on. And guys, I like I said at the beginning, I invited Maverick onto the rabbit hole because he puts out videos all the time about current events, and obviously every now and then I'm putting out current event episodes, but I'm not doing it constantly. So if you guys want to keep up to date on all the things that are happening right now in real time, he's so great about putting this stuff out. Please go follow him. Thank you so much, Maverick, for coming on the rabbit hole. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it for sure. And I'll definitely have you on Maverick Approach, the podcast as well. Definitely got to do
Please,
this again.
thank you. I'd love to.
Appreciate it.
All right. Until next week, my friends, stay skeptical, and I'll see you all then. Hey, friends. The Rabbit Hole is an independent podcast with everything you hear done by me, Danny Mercy. I appreciate all of your support. Please rate and review wherever you're listening. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at rabbit.holepodcast. And thank you, Zakar Valaha, for our awesome intro.